There are those who dedicate themselves to a sense of honor, to a life of courage, and a commitment to something greater than themselves. They have always defended this nation and each other. They still do. The few, the proud, the Marines.
That sense of honor, a life of courage, and a commitment to something greater than themselves has always been a two-way street, for the Marines and to the Marines. On August 10, 2022, President Biden signed into law the Sergeant First Class Heath Robinson Comprehensive Toxic Pact Act. The Pact Act is the most significant expansion of benefits and services for toxic exposed veterans in more than 30 years.
Who fought for our wars for the past 30 years, establishing presumptions of service connection for asthma, sinusitis, rhinitis, and 9 rare respiratory cancers. And now, by signing the Pact Act into law, President Biden will empower VA to deliver the care that millions of toxic exposed veterans need and the benefits that they and their loved ones deserve. And VA stands ready to implement PACT now. Veterans can visit va.gov/PACT to learn more about how this law will help them and their families, and we encourage anyone who might be eligible for PACT Act benefits to apply right away, because we'll stop at nothing to make sure every veteran, every family member, and every survivor gets everything they've earned.
Named in honor of Sergeant First Class Heath Robinson, a decorated combat medic who died from a rare form of lung cancer. This historic legislation will help deliver more timely benefits and services to more than 5 million veterans across all generations who may have been impacted by toxic exposures while serving our country. The PACT Act also provides compensation and health care to people exposed to water contamination at Camp Lejeune in eastern North Carolina. The new legislation applies to anyone who lived or worked at Marine Corps Base Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1987. It allows those who experience serious illness, miscarriage, or birth defects to be eligible for disability payments, health care, and compensation. Up to 500,000 people may have been exposed to contaminated drinking water at the base over that 30-plus year period. This is a monumental step forward in helping all veterans exposed to toxic chemicals during service, and also a breakthrough in achieving justice for veterans, families, non-military staff, and others who were harmed at Camp Lejeune. The Insider-exclusive Justice in America news team is on location in Baltimore, Maryland, to take you behind the scenes in this new network TV special, Justice in America, the U.S. Marine Corps Camp Lejeune Justice Act of 2022. With Evelyn Darden and Mark Darden, partners at the Law Offices of Addison-Darden, PC, to show how veterans and their families can seek justice and compensation if they develop illnesses from Camp Lejeune's toxic drinking water. They have earned the highest respect from citizens and lawyers alike as some of the best trial lawyers in Maryland and across the nation. This is the Insider Exclusive, live from Baltimore, Maryland. It is my great pleasure to introduce Mark and Evelyn Darden to the show. Welcome to the show.
Pleasure.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about your law firm. What does your law firm specialize in?
I'll let you start with that.
I'm Evelyn Darden, and I started this law firm April of 1988. And I started because I wanted to help people. I know that people like to talk about their problems when they're with me, and I'm a listener. And I decided after years of experience of working with the state's attorney's office, with the federal government, with civil rights cases, and even as a prosecutor in Baltimore City, handling major drug cases and homicide cases, that I wanted to bring all those skills and experiences together to best serve my clients. I said to my husband years ago when I made the decision to go into business for myself that I want to be fully prepared and hit the ground running. And then less than a year after I started, my son, who was in law school at the time at Howard University Law School, decided that he wanted to work with the firm. I said, "Are you certain you don't want to go out and work at the state's attorney's office as an intern or some other task there?" He says, "No, I like working with people just like you." And so we've been together in this firm for over 30 years now.
Close to 35. Yeah, Steve, my story's a little different. I'm an athlete, super competitive, and I would have never thought that law would have been the profession I'd chosen, but also being an advocate for people, trying to champion, the little guy, seeing what my mom had been doing. My father was an entrepreneur, and it just made sense to me to do business with family. And when my mom opened the practice, I said, what better place to be trained and to work and be with family and also help your community, help people in need through the practice of law. I just see the courtroom as sort of a battleground. It's like the gridiron for me. And I also play lacrosse. So it's like the opponent on the other side. Let's do battle. Let's see where we come out at the end of the day. And it's been a great career working with my mom. I couldn't ask for a better mentor, a better trainer, a better person to work for, and to just be there day to day to give me, real time, real life feedback as to my development. And I think we've come a long way in almost 35 years.
And it makes me proud to know that my law partner is someone I've always loved, admired, and respected. And with the energy that he brings to the practice, it just makes me excited as well about helping people.
We're here today talking about a major case. The news just broke recently when President Biden signed into law the new Pact Act. And this deals with the Camp Lejeune toxic water cases. I think somewhere in the neighborhood of about 1 million people over the period of time been exposed to a variety of toxic waters which have caused cancers. Tell our audience a little bit about that kind of background about what happened at Camp Lejeune and why has it taken so long to get these cases to the forefront?
As you said, President Joseph Biden signed what we call now the Justice Act. It was signed August 10th of 2022. And this allows veterans as well as civilians, persons who have worked, lived, or were stationed at Camp Lejeune in North Carolina during the period of 1953 to 1987 to now file a claim if they have injuries from the exposure to the toxic water. Now, it's now coming to the forefront, and this act is such a tremendous benefit for those who have been exposed. It doesn't mean that they automatically will be compensated, but it gives them the opportunity to now file, even though they may have been at Camp Lejeune more than 20 or 30 years ago. They don't have to be concerned about a statute of limitation because that wouldn't apply. It will apply if you were there during that period and you experience injuries. Then it's our job to fight for you and see that you get the compensation or your family receive the compensation that they deserve.
So let's talk about some of the injuries that some of these people have been exposed to. being at Camp Lejeune. What has happened to some of these people that you represent, for example?
A number of different cancers are on that list of actionable injury. Multiple myeloma, also birth defects and miscarriages are also on that list, and some respiratory ailments and illnesses. The significance is that, for example, we have a client that actually goes back to August of 1953 when this first started. He is it was a Marine veteran, Korean War, was stationed there for about 4 months. We also have clients leading up to almost the date of departure, or should I say the date that covers the end of this act, December of 1988. So as Evelyn said, there is a large span. So when she says that there's no statute of limitation, meaning that this actually encompasses a longer period than what a 3-year personal injury statute would allow you to bring a cause of action. However, you must file by August 10th of 2024 in order to be.
So you get 2 years, right?
You have 2 years, right, in which to file your cause of action. Now, also, if you had a prior claim, we've had some clients who have had prior claims with the Veterans Administration who are waiting to hear or who have been denied. This act is a separate act. It allows you to file under this Camp Lejeune Justice Act. Even if you have an ongoing matter with the Veterans Administration, you can still file under this act. And that's crucial and that's important to allow for those veterans, those Marines, those persons who were on the base, some civilian. There was even in high school on the base. So we're finding that people may not have been in the Marine Corps, but they were children of Marine veterans, and they too are eligible and can file under this act.
How does a person go about filing a claim? And with that question, do they need a lawyer to do this?
We strongly advise. What we do and what we have been doing now for the past several weeks is to hold town halls, seminars, and sessions to educate and inform persons as to what their rights are, what injuries are covered, and why it's important to file promptly, as Mark indicated. So that is our task, and I would strongly recommend it because too often people procrastinate, and if they procrastinate and let that time frame go by, they're forever barred from being a part of the benefits of this act. The other is there's a lot of paperwork. It's paper intensive. It's something that we do every day is deal with paper, knowing what to put on the form, assisting clients in filling it out, and obtaining the necessary records. There are at least 4 authorizations that need to be signed to allow us to obtain their records. Because frequently what we're seeing is persons will say, well, I don't have my DD-214, which is proof of their military service, or I don't have all of my medical records. And what we said is, that's why you hire us. We do the groundwork for you. We do the heavy lifting for you. Come to us. Let us know what your story is. Let us know if you're within that eligibility window and whether or not you or your loved ones have experienced any of these injuries and illnesses.
We have with us, and we're going to put it on the screen right now, a 30-second TV commercial that you have already produced, so that folks can find out your number and call you after they see this show. So let's do that right now.
The Law Offices of Addison-Darden are committed to protecting the rights of our veterans. The United States Marine Corps discovered the drinking water at Camp Lejeune was contaminated with toxic chemicals between 1953 and 1987. These chemicals have been linked to serious medical conditions. If you or someone in your family lived, worked, or were stationed at Camp Lejeune and developed cancer, a serious health condition, or died from a health condition, call our law firm today for help.
I covered a story after 9/11 that eventually turned out to be what is known as the Zadroga Act, where the U.S. government took responsibility for the ailments, the illnesses, the cancers that first responders got working in the ruins, right after 9/11, okay? The Zadroga Act was signed initially by Obama, and it was extended and finally made permanent by, I forgot his name, I'm just kidding, Donald Trump. That's one good thing he did, right? But the point I'm trying to make is that sometimes you don't exhibit the injuries or the ailments as a result of being exposed, for example, at Camp Lejeune, to this toxic water. So are you saying that if you were at Camp Lejeune, whether you were in the military or whether you were a civilian working there, you should file a claim or go to your doctor? Do you guys provide or refer doctors so people can be examined?
Steve, most definitely, I would say that those individuals who were on the base, worked on the base, commuted as civilians back and forth and provided services, should file a claim. Whether they currently exhibit symptoms or not, they may develop them in the future. At least the claim would be filed, and at least it would allow us an opportunity to explore that, where these cases may go as far as litigation. Now, as for doctors, we can refer. However, this encompasses anyone that was on the base, so it's nationwide, it's national. So most people would probably have their own medical providers. We would encourage them to review, and we would review those records and then make a determination once we consulted with their medical provider as to what the next course of action should be or what steps they should take, whether they currently are treating for symptoms of illness or that they have some concerns for future medical.
So when potential claimants come to you, you pretty well cover from A to Z what they need to do, whether they exhibit any ailments or not, right?
That's correct.
Okay, now, we have with us today two of your clients, and we're going to bring them on right now so they can tell their own personal story. It is my great pleasure to introduce Gilda Booth and Margaret Coates to the show. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's start with you, Gilda. Your husband passed away, what was it, 2021, right? And he was a Marine and he was at Camp Lejeune. Tell our audience a little bit about your husband and what happened to him.
My husband was a Marine. He got out of school in 1974 and joined and to help the world. And he went in and he was stationed at Camp Lejeune. And I'm his spouse. And he had 2 kids. And as life went on, he had different type of sickness. And he, as a wife, I was there with him in and out of the hospitals and taking care of him and working, and had 2 kids as a wife. And as time went on, he needed a kidney transplant. And he suffered for like 5 years off and on. And went back and forth to the doctors and VA, and nobody could really find out what caused it, what it was all about. So my family and my 2 kids, we kind of suffered because he wasn't the man he should have been and working hard. And I had to work 2 jobs to take care of the family because he wasn't able to. And as time went on, and now that I found out that where he had gave his life and surrendered to help the country as a Marine, and the place he was stationed had contaminated water. And so all this time, it's just like he had to suffer for something that he served and did for the country. And now that I'm suffering, because I done lost him as a young age and got 2 kids and 3 grandkids, and they're suffering. He was a good husband, and, he worked for the community. And it's shocking because it happened so fast, and if we knew this at the beginning, it probably could have been something could be done. And why would you know that this was there and so long and not come forward with it so people could get help, like my husband. And I'm just hurting because we got a country that knows that something is wrong and won't fix it. And, you know, is that we got so many people that died, is dying or have died. I just want to say that I'm really hurting. My family's hurting. That he took time out and served the country, and he had to die like he died.
I want to point out that both of you have relatives that have died already, and they're eligible, your families are eligible to file a claim, because thank God for President Biden signed this into law. Margaret, tell us a little bit about your brother. He passed away in 2005, right?
2005,
And
yeah.
what did he die of?
He died of cancer. My brother had pancreatic cancer, stomach cancer, colon cancer. Cancer had ravaged his body.
Okay. How long was he at Camp Lejeune by?
He was there. He got drafted right out of high school. So he was there for maybe, 2, 3 years? Yeah. We all grew up in a small community outside of Annapolis, and it was 7 of us, 7 sisters and brothers. And my oldest brother was Edward. The second brother was Melvin. I was the third person, Margaret. Then we have a sister, Odessa, and then another sister, Teresa, brother, Ralph, and another sister, Kathy. Melvin was the second one in line. We all grew up together. We loved each other. He loved all of his sisters and brothers. He loved his mother and father. And when he turned 18, he was drafted into the service. So he did go into the Marines. And we missed him a lot when he was in the Marines, and we wrote to him and everything. And when he got out of the Marines, he started working for the county under on the county government. And he was an avid fisherman, and he enjoyed sports. He loved hunting, and he had an old rowboat and put a motor on it. And he used to take our children, his nieces and nephews, out on the boat. And one time he was out in the Chesapeake Bay on the rowboat, and the motor came off. So he had to use oars to oar back to shore. And there was a long distance, and our nieces and nephews got a lot of stories to tell about him and the fishing. But he was a good brother. We loved him. He loved his mother and father. He planted trees around the house for his mother's birthday, and the trees are still standing today. It's one beautiful red oak tree still in the yard that he planted, because he was such a family person. He loved all the family. He was my mother's quiet child. He wasn't real loud and rowdy like us, but he was quiet, and he was personable, and he was a great person. We just loved him to pieces, and he loved all of us, and we shared a lot of things coming up. And he taught our children a lot. He didn't have any kids. He did have a good friend, a devoted friend. They were friends for years, and she had 3 boys, and he helped her raise their boys. And if he hadn't died with cancer, I'm thinking he may have gotten married and maybe had some children of his own. And he served his country well. And it looked like the country should have done a little bit more for him. He died, and it made all of us sad, and we saw him go through this cancer that just ravaged his body. And he went through this, from this big, burly man to just a fragment of himself. And he suffered. The cancer just ate him up really, really bad. And it hurts for me to even think about him being so sick. But hopefully nobody else will have to go through this, you know? If everybody just steps in and do what they're supposed to do for the veterans and all those who are serving the country, you know, it would be a better world. It would be a better world.
Well, fortunately, that's what's happening right now. You brought up something, and this is to both of you, and I'll start with you. Here we are, 2022. Your brother died in 2005. 17 years ago.
Yes.
What do you think about the fact that the government hasn't done anything, and it took this long, and really we didn't know a whole lot about that. What do you think about that?
I think it's really bad that they disrespect the veterans and they don't do the things that, and they knew this all along, but did nothing to help anybody. And I think it's a tragedy. It's a real tragedy. It's an atrocity. It's just ridiculous that it should have gone on this long. And they really need to do something now to help those who are suffering right now. It's just ridiculous.
How about yourself, Gilda?
I think that we should be compensated for the time that they spent and knowing that they had contaminated water there and he drunk it or ate it or, being involved in the stuff that was there, and then he had to bring it home to his family, and bringing it home to his family is seeing him suffering after the fact and knowing that they could have said something or they could have closed the place down before the people enter into it and saved 1,000 lives. But they continue to let it sit there and do nothing about it. I think that needs to be addressed.
Now, there are a lot of lawyers, and this is to both of you out there, that can help, folks like you file a claim. What do you like the most about Mark and Evelyn Darden?
I like about Mark and Olivia Darden is that they are true people because they are out there to help people to know the truth and have something done about it and not keep shoving it underneath the rug. And so I thank God for people like Mark and Olivia that's out there putting their life on the line to help other people to be conversating or know the truth about what really happened. Because all this time, my husband walked around serving the country and had to suffer like he had to suffer, and didn't know that and didn't do anything about it, and still not doing anything about it because they haven't closed the place down. Now people lost loved ones or they're still suffering. Some people are still suffering from it.
What about you, Margaret?
Yes, I think it's a great thing that Mark and Olivia are trying to get to the root of the problem and try to make an awareness that everybody needs to know this and to do something about it now while you have a chance to save more lives and not to destroy all these families, because people with cancer, it's devastating. And we don't know how many other people are out there that have cancer, and it could be related to this. So it's a good thing that, and it's a shame that the government didn't contact us. Our family members served proudly to defend the country, and the country did not defend them. So I am glad Olivia and Mark are bringing it to light so everybody will be aware of it. And there is an opportunity to do something about it. And that's what I'm most proud of for Olivia and Mark. Absolutely.
Okay, I want to thank both of you for spending your valuable time here today to get that message out, okay? And my sincere condolences to both of you. I hope this is resolved soon. And thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I love the fact that all you really care about is taking care of clients. There is a system to do that. Our legal system, as imperfect as it is, once in a while we get justice for people. It may take forever, as we saw with Agent Orange, but thank God President Biden signed into law this new law that covers not only Camp Lejeune, but a whole bunch of other, toxic torts that people were exposed being in the military or civilian throughout all of the years. When folks call you, how do you determine whether you're going to take their case?
There's a process that we use that pretty much allows us to determine early on, and that is a determination as to whether they lived, worked, or were stationed there, whether they were civilian or veteran, but if they were there during that relevant time of 1953 to 1987. And as Mark said, there are a long list of cancers. Even if the person doesn't exhibit signs or don't have cancer, We're taking those, and then after we request the documents, the medical records, we can then observe and explore those records to determine whether or not they fall within that criteria. But the initial criteria is, did you live, work, or was stationed there during that period of time?
Right. Okay, and we are putting up on the screen again your telephone number. And would you mind giving that out?
855 Darden Law.
Okay, good. That's the number to call if you lived or worked, at Camp Lejeune during that period of time, 1953 to 1987?
That's correct.
All right, very good. I want to thank you both for being on the show.
Our pleasure.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. You can get more information about our guest and the issues at insiderexclusive.com.